Do you ever feel like you exist in the world without a sense of actually fitting in anywhere? Whether it's within society as a whole, within your family, your friendship groups, perhaps even within spiritual communities. Do you ever have a sense of always standing on the outside, always slightly on the edge of the group, and ultimately lacking a true sense of belonging? Throughout my life, I have wandered between so many different types of friendship groups, all with their own sort of stereotype. And I feel like I get along with everyone, but I belong nowhere. And even over the years, spending time living in various types of spiritual communities, this sense of just not fitting in has followed me. So, I've been diving deep into this topic in the past couple of months, and I really want to share with you some incredible insights that I've had. One of the deepest longings as a human being is to belong. Yet the ego, our separate sense of self, ensures a feeling of separation. So we must first turn our attention to the tricks of the ego. Calling it out in this way can actually invoke a true sense of belonging through a deep feeling of unity with the world around us. To shine the light on the ego, we must first turn our attention towards the mind's continuous tendency to compare. So the ego loves comparative thinking because it literally exists within individuality and distinction. So, this idea of myself and other. And through so much of this comparative thinking, the ego has actually even created an identity around not fitting in. So, we really want to raise our awareness and become aware and alert to this comparative thinking. We really want to watch it and see how it only feeds and exacerbates this sense of not fitting in. If you watch the voice in the mind, then you will see that it constantly seeks out differences. Just watch it, let it talk its talk. But through your observation, you've then awakened an awareness that allows you to stop feeding the voice of comparison, to lose interest in the voice, and to take away its energy. Through self observation and witnessing, you'll see that thoughts highlighting the differences between you and the people around you create a sense of separation, and thoughts that highlight the similarities create a sense of unity. So, those that have a sense of feeling like an outsider can often find themselves in environments where it's a little tricky to find these similarities. And if you're anything like me, then even in groups where you share very similar interests, then you can have this lingering sense of not fitting in. So, to share with you my personal experience here, I personally don't identify with any spiritual ideology as such. I just like all sorts of teachings. So, this can mean that even in spiritual community, I feel like I'm just sitting on the periphery of a group that tends to be a culmination of a particular ideology or set of beliefs. So, again, even in spiritual communities, I find that my ego is really fueled again by this comparative thinking, and it continues to reinforce its identity of not belonging. So, for those that can't seem to fit into a group, perhaps not all of us are designed to fit into any particular group. Perhaps we are the ones that wander freely between all the groups, and though this may feel a little isolating at times, it brings the luxury of a certain liberation as well, a freedom of movement. And as a result, we have a wider perspective, an openness to anything and everything. There doesn't have to be a right or a wrong. We welcome it all and we let resonance and discernment lead the way. Of course, this is not to say that those that identify with a particular spiritual ideology are wrong at all. They are walking their path and they are mastering their trade as such. You know, another trap of the ego is judgment. And again, this only perpetuates our feeling of not fitting in because it creates this separation between us and other people. And this separation thinking, it really, again, it's just the opposite of true belonging. So, you know, often within the spiritual community, you'll see different types of groups. You know, you'll have the Buddhists or the non-dualists and the New Ages and the people that don't belong to any group like me. That in and of itself is a group. And so what all the different groups do is they look at the other groups and they say, that group is wrong and I'm in the right group and you're in the wrong group. And again, it's all of these judgments that really just provide ammo for the ego, basically. It just perpetuates the feeling of separation, and it just gives the ego more fuel to compare and to judge and to survive. I feel that there is a deeper aspect of our being that calls for unity. Unity with the all, or God, or whatever your preference is. There is something inside us that calls us to remember our intrinsic place within the greater whole. On the spiritual path, especially, every single one of us is seeking to remember our belonging to something larger than the separate sense of self. This deeper call for unity means that we can sometimes find the most profound sense of belonging through simply feeling at one with the world. For me, I actually taste belonging the most when I am in the presence of animals or nature or children. And perhaps it is the presence that they hold that is then reflected in me and just ever so slightly dissolves my ego in that moment, which invokes like a deep sense of connection and just gives me this tiny little glimpse of oneness with all life. Despite these points mentioned so far, we are still faced with this sense of not fitting in, and perhaps on our search for belonging, we need to just give up the search and surrender into the sense of alienation at times, and instead learn to embrace our uniqueness. Not from a superior standpoint, but just from a place of acceptance and gratitude. So I feel like I have hit the end of the road now on my desperate sort of searching for belonging. And though this sense of not fitting in may always be there, I feel like it's now coupled with an acceptance that just wasn't there before. And, you know, giving up this resistance has really just sort of released a tension within me. Perhaps in the past, desperately trying to fit in unfortunately meant lying to ourselves, compromising our authenticity in order to fabricate a false sense of belonging, pretending that we are something that we are not. And for this reason, we have to be truly honest with ourselves. I am just grateful that I can be myself, basically. And since you are watching this video and you have this sense of not fitting in, then that means that you're being true to yourself and living the life that feels good for you. And, you know, being a nonconformist in a conformist world takes a certain boldness. So good for you. Good for you for listening to your intuition and your inner guru. And just walking the path less traveled, basically. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. My name's Jasmine. If you have anything else to share, if anything just popped into your head during this video and you want to share it with us, just write it in the comments. Like, let us know your personal insights and your personal experiences with this topic. Yeah, please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye 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 bye.